friends, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing really well. So I wanted to go over my recent reads, and I haven't done one of these videos in such a long time because, as I've mentioned 100 times already, 2024 was a really bad year. I read 30 books in 2024, which typically I usually read about 75 to 90 books a year. So it was really terrible, and I was beating myself up a lot. So even the books that I was finishing, I wasn't really up to talking about them because, you know, I just wasn't really getting any enjoyment out of my reading. I'm still really excited about how the month wrapped up, even though I didn't read quite as much as I wanted to. The fact that I finished this many books is, you know, just kind of blew me out of the water. So I just realized I forgot one, so I'll be right back. Okay, so the first book that I wanted to talk to you guys about, I actually finished right at the end of December. So it did go in with my 2024 reading goals. It got me up to that number 30, which was really great. But I wanted to make sure to talk about it here. Number one, because this person, well, number one, because the book was amazing. Number two, because this person also has a YouTube channel, a spooky themed YouTube channel. And number three, because the next book in this series is just came out the other day. So I really wanted to make sure to talk to you about this one because it, you know, it was something that I really enjoyed. It was something that I really needed at that particular moment in my life, in my reading. And that is Hidden Haunts Scotland by W.J. Gilbert. And we all know my love for my ghosty books. So I downloaded this one on digital copy on my Kindle, and I absolutely loved it. Now, this particular person also, like I said, has a YouTube channel. It's called Eerie Edinburgh, and it's one of my favorite YouTube channels. When I've had a really hard day at work, I'm a project manager in my adult job, and everyone is at me and I'm being pulled in 100 directions, and you know, there's big things that are falling off and all of this kind of stuff, and I'm really stressed out. I love coming home and watching his YouTube channel. And the book was just, it encompassed all of the feels of his YouTube channel. And when I was reading it in his wonderful Scottish accent. And the main thing that I loved about this book, and the main thing that I love about his YouTube channel as well, is that it doesn't just tell the ghost story. He goes through the history of a particular place or a particular castle or ruins or whatever, gives a lot of history, a lot of backstory, and then goes into the ghost story. And I think it just gives you a more rounded picture of, you know, what's going on in that particular area, and it just makes me want to visit Scotland so much more. And I always say to Matthew that I want to move to Scotland. I've never actually been there, but something is just drawing my heart to that place. And so if you haven't checked out the book or his YouTube channel, I'll have a link to his YouTube channel below. And then, like I say, the second book, kind of piggybacking off of this one, Hidden Haunts London, is just newly released. I pre-ordered it when I also ordered this book, and I'm super excited to read it. So I'll be getting into that one probably not in February, because February is over full already. But for a wonderful nonfiction read, I can't wait to dive into this one because I am such a history buff myself. I have a degree in history, and so it's just all of the things. It's all of the feels. So make sure you go out and check Hidden Haunts Scotland, Hidden Haunts London, and check out the Eerie Edinburgh YouTube channel. And the first book that I technically finished for 2025 is a Darcy Coates book. So very much the ghosty, spooky sort of feels that really helped break me out of that slump. And this one was just okay for me. You know, if I had to rate it, the last book, The Hidden Haunts Scotland, is a 5-star read. This one was about a 3-star. I think it's one of Darcy Coates's more, it's not weak. It's not a weak book, but it's definitely not in that upper echelon of everything that she's written. And it falls into that cozy haunted house sort of area of her writing. She's branched out a lot in the past few years, but it does fall within that, you know, Haunting of Ashburn House, Haunting of Rookwood House sort of area of her writing. And this revolves around, I think it's a haunted hotel, and this tour guide brings a group in. There's a psychic, there's a rich girl that's the owner, there's a guy with a mysterious backstory. So it's very Haunting of Hill House, a haunting sort of within that sphere. and I enjoyed it. I liked it. I listened to it when I was coloring, putting together a puzzle with Matthew, and you know, it was just okay. It wasn't fantastic, but it wasn't terrible, and I'm really glad that I went ahead and picked it up, because this one is actually one of hers that's that I hear a lot about. It just didn't really work totally for me. And next up is The London Seance Society by Sarah Penner, and this is our Haunted Victorian Book Club January pick. So we will have the live show coming up here next weekend, which will be the second Saturday in February. So if you did read this book with the book club, or if you'd read it on your own and you want to join in for the live discussion, I'll be posting information about that here pretty soon. So this, again, it was just kind of middle of the road for me. This has to do with these women who are psychics and this kind of mysterious society that they don't know if they're legit or if they're fake, and then there's a murder mystery wound into it, and there's kind of a lot going on, and there's a dual timeline as well. So again, this one is just kind of middle of the road for me. I think I rated it 3 or 3.5 stars. Nothing over the top, but it wasn't terrible. And I do have thoughts that I'm going to be going over during the live show as well. But it did have all of the gothic feels that I was looking for my book club and for this time of year specifically. You know, we're going into February, going into the Gothic Hearts Reading Challenge. So it definitely fit in with all of that, and I definitely will read Sarah Penner again. I think she was a fine writer, and again, just another middle of the road kind of book. And next, I did pick up one in the Creepover series. You guys know that I love the Creepover series by PJ Knight. This is Home Sweet Haunt. And we have this wonderful cover here, and it is a level 5 on the Creepometer. So I have to say, this is book 15 in that series. I've read quite a few of the Creepover series. I haven't read them all. This was my first time around with this one. And I have to say, this was one of my more least favorite in the series that I've read so far. Again, wasn't terrible, it wasn't great, it was middle of the road, it was a 3-star read. Super, super cute. If you're looking for something that's cutesy and kind of a little bit spooky, it takes place during Halloween. You know, I would definitely recommend this one, and definitely recommend the Creepover series in general. And like I said, if you want to give these to your kids, it does have the Creepometer on the back, where you can see where it sort of ranks in its spookiness. This is a level 5. I wouldn't give it a level 5, but I mean, obviously I'm an adult reading a middle grade book. So again, kind of around that 3-star sort of mark. Next up, I read a Spooksville book by Christopher Pike. Over the past 4 or 5 months, I'd say, I've picked up several of the Spooksville books, and I've been reading them on Everand when we're doing kind of our spooky activities and just sort of chilling out. Matt enjoys them too. They're really cute little adventures. So this is The Haunted Cave. This is Spooksville number 4, I believe, and I'm really, really enjoying this series. This is my first time around with Spooksville. I mean, I've been a Christopher Pike fan most of my life since like the 4th grade, and this is my first time reading kind of outside of his YA into adult sort of books, and I think his middle grade series is really, really good. It's spooky, and it kind of has a little bit of a sci-fi twist as well, more so than Goosebumps, but I really, really like it. The only thing is, I will say that you kind of do have to read them in order, because they do sort of follow a flow, and they revolve around the same cast of characters, unlike Goosebumps. So if you've never read the Spooksville series, please start with number 1 and then work your way up. So again, middle of the road, 3 to 3.5 star read, super cute, and it was something that's definitely slowly starting to bring me out of that reading slump. Next up, I finally finished Incidents Around the House by Josh Malerman, and this is one that I had soft DNF'd a couple of months ago. I had started reading it on audio when I was working on the library. Really, really enjoyed it, but then I just put it aside and I didn't pick it up again. So finally finished that one. This was a 4-star for me. I thought it was done really, really well. I think there's 2 things that, if they're done poorly, it completely ruins a book. If they're done well, it's really going to add to that story. And the 2 things are, number 1, a book or a story that's told by the point of view of a child. I think that's really, really difficult to do. The good thing is too, I also read this one on audio, and I'm assuming it was read by an adult, but they altered her voice to sound like a child. But I think that really added to the whole atmosphere of this story. It's super creepy, by the way. Super, super creepy. And I really enjoyed the whole story of like the other mother and stuff. So that's the one thing. And the other thing is family drama within horror. I don't mind family dynamics and family drama, but it has to be done well and it has to add to the story. And oftentimes, especially I find in modern horror, like they have like the majority of the story is the family drama, and then the horror and the creepiness kind of fall by the wayside. These were put together really, really well. So if you don't know anything about this book, basically it's this little girl, and she has what her parents think is an imaginary friend. And the imaginary friend, of course, turns out to be a real spook or a real demon that's living in her bedroom closet, and she calls her Other Mommy. So it has sort of that Coraline sort of twist coming in here as well. She calls her Other Mommy, and Other Mommy is basically trying to take possession of this child. She always says, "Can I go into your heart?" And it's super creepy. Other Mommy is super creepy. And then, you know, kind of everything escalates, and we realize that it's not an imaginary friend. There's actually something going on. And like I said, it does have the family drama wound in there as well. And the fact that the little girl calls her Other Mommy because she actually resembles her mother, but this particular demon does certain things that make her like really creepy. So I think if you want to experience this book to the best of its ability, I would highly recommend getting this one on audio, because having it read, basically read by a child in a childish voice, I think the audiobook was done super, super well. So when we're talking about fiction, this was definitely my favorite book of the month at a 4-star. Sorry about that, guys. I had some major problems with my camera. It started a little while ago and I couldn't figure out what was going on. Had to do a bunch of Googling, and I realized that I had one of the dials was knocked out of place and it was causing a whole bunch of issue. So I went and I took a break because I was getting really frustrated, and now at least I can finish off this video. So last book that I read for January was this one. This is out of my Ghost House series, so this is number 58, Scary Movies Behind the Scenes, Stories, Reviews, Biographies, Anecdotes, History, and Lists by A.S. Mott. And this is, like I said, I think I said it's number 58 in the series. So this is obviously a nonfiction book. If you love horror movies, this is definitely a read I would recommend. It talks about Psycho, Janet Leigh's shower scene, Halloween, American Werewolf in London, A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Fly, Dead by Dawn. So I admit I didn't read every single chapter in this book, but I did read the ones that those specific sort of classic movies really appealed to me. Of course it has Ghostface on the front, which is kind of funny that it doesn't really have a selection on Ghostface. But this was really good. Again, if you love scary movies, pick this up. And like, for example, in the first chapter when it's talking about Psycho, it does have at the very end, like there's an also look for. Your best bet for the film itself is Universal Studios Collector's Edition DVD, which includes a great transfer of the film along with a very entertaining feature-length documentary about the making of the film. So it actually has like a lot of information on, if you're big fans of those particular movies, like, you know, which collector's editions are really good and what they have, and all of that. So this was really, really good. This is a full 5 stars. I actually don't think I put it into my Goodreads yet, but highly, highly recommend. And this is definitely something I'll probably refer back to from time to time if I'm watching some of those classic slasher movies. And I'm hoping I can find more books like this. If you know of any other sort of nonfiction books that talk about like the history or trivia or anything of like some really popular horror movies, let me know down in the comments. So there you guys go. That is my recent reads wrap up. Basically everything that I read in January, plus a little bit of what I read at the end of December. So I'm really super excited that I managed to get through so many books this month after coming out of like one of my worst slumps ever. And I'm just really hoping it continues for the rest of the year. I'm not putting too much pressure on myself to, you know, get to a full 10 books a month or 8 books a month or whatever. I'm just kind of going with the flow. I really don't don't care about goals or any of that, and I'm trying not to get into too many TBRs and all of that sort of thing, and just sort of continue on with my mood reading. So like I said, super pleased with that wrap up. So there you guys go. Not a spectacular month, but middle of the road for most books, and a couple of really good ones. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up and leave me a question or a comment down below, because you know I love chatting with you guys. But until next time, stay spooky, everybody. Bye.